What do you say, everybody? And welcome to the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Hanging out with you on a Thursday. Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up as you hang out with us. He's Jay Barker. I'm Mick Gillispie. And we're here with you on 3, right? That's it, on 3. Did you say that a lot, Jay, when you would break the huddle on 3?
No. It was usually on 1 was the most, on 2 some, on 3 was still very tough for everybody to get, even the quarterback.
A lot of mistakes happened when you guys would try to go on 3.
That's
Offsides.
right. Yeah. Hut.
Yeah, we're not doing that here today, though. We're going to try to stay on sides as we talk about Alabama football and Crimson Tide headlines. But, guys, like and subscribe. And don't forget, right now, you can subscribe to Bama Insider online. You can do it easy at BamaInsider.com. You get all the recruiting with Andrew Bone, Joseph Hastings, Clint Lamb, and Jimmy Stein, and Kyle Henderson, and the entire crew throwing out content on there, nuggets and all that stuff. So go to the site. It's $1 for 12 months of BamaInsider.com. All right, Jay, well, let's get into it. Let's talk about these headlines and a lot of stuff going on. And I want to start with Brian Kelly. He said he wants to beat Nick Saban. He said that in the offseason in a professional way. I mean, I didn't get that anything other than competitiveness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he says – but he called Nick Saban, and this was kind of new news to all of us before he took the job. And we got to remember that Nick Saban once was LSU's head coach.
Exactly. And I don't
I'm not hearing you, Jay. Jay, I think we lost your audio. I don't know, whatever Jay's saying is it's definitely good stuff. I just checked mine. We can't hear you. Maybe put a message in the – but, yeah, something got unplugged on Jay. But he's talking about Nick Saban and this relationship here between these guys. And kind of, we always want to remember that, that we couldn't, that Nick Saban was at LSU as we try to get Jay's audio fixed here. And I'll say this, I'll kind of give you my take and we'll get Jay back on. But Brian Kelly has a lot of respect for Nick Saban. He's had 2 of his best teams lose out to Alabama in the postseason along the way. So I know that when he looks at this, that he's saying, hey, I'm about to leave one of the best jobs in college football, Notre Dame, and go to Alabama. And, for me to do that, is this the right move? And what we're finding out is that it probably is the right move. The last 3 coaches that have had the job have won a national championship. Saban kind of got LSU back on the map again. And then after that, it was Les Miles, and Les Miles won a championship. And then after that, Ed Orgeron, which to me is still crazy. I mean, the guy won a national championship, but he did. And so Brian Kelly, who is one of the best coaches, tactical coaches, is able to kind of get his guys exactly where he wants them. Is at LSU now? Let's see if Jay's sounds back.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, good. So weird. We did the whole show pregame stuff, and then we have issues with the headphone. It was so weird because I saw you like pointing at your ear, and then I saw you, and so I started going, "Are you talking to me, or what's happening?" So part of my dialogue was talking to you, trying to figure out what you needed from me. But part of technology, I guess. I don't know. We were fine. Backstage was all good. We got on stage and we couldn't do it, but. You want me to go back through what I said? Could you hear anything I said?
Okay. Well, let me set you back up again, right? So a press conference happens, and Brian Kelly calls Nick Saban to ask him about LSU, not as Alabama's coach, but as LSU's coach. And Nick Saban, gave him some advice, and it was pretty much that LSU has good people there and a lot of talent.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is that, look, he's the greatest coach of all time. He's been in that environment. That environment is so different. I mean, especially coming from Notre Dame to LSU, but it's a different environment for us in the SEC. When you go to Baton Rouge, you're walking into an area and a different culture than pretty much a lot of places in the world that you haven't experienced yet. So to get that insight. I don't think Coach Saban taught him how to dance with recruits. We never seen that. I don't think he told him to have an accent at a basketball game like he did when he had the Southern accent. Everybody's like, "What are you doing? Why are you acting like that or making that accent up in order to try to get recruits or try to win over the LSU fans?" But hey, it's a great thing to do. You talk to the guy that's done the best there, and also, I mean, if you really think about it, 03 and 07. 07, they won it with Les Miles, but that was Nick Saban's players. He recruited those guys in. He built the foundation of that program. So, I think it's a smart move by him, and it shows a lot of humility as well to want to make that call and say, I want to hear from you. Give me your take on LSU. What did you do to be successful? And then try to take that roadmap with a guy that's the most successful college coach of all time.
Right. And also, he's trying to figure out if it's the right decision for his career, right? I mean, do you
Most
really
definitely.
leave Notre Dame for LSU? Well, the answer is yes. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that, Notre Dame doesn't give you the tools to win a national championship and compete year in and year out to win the whole thing. Now, you can get there, but obviously winning it is different than getting there. And in the big games, when the money's been on the line, so to say, they haven't won. Now they did beat Clemson in the regular season, but in those playoff games, they've been throttled. And obviously he feels like at LSU that he's got a better chance of getting the things that he needs to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, the talent level, number one. And that's what, when Coach Saban got to LSU, he pretty much put a fence around that whole area recruiting and in Louisiana and said, we can get some of the great players to stay home. We're going to win. Then he went and got Jamarcus Russell at that time from Alabama. I'll never forget. I tell this story all the time. Dabo, I was talking to him. We'd gone to lunch. I was in Tuscaloosa. He was a coach on Dubos' staff at that time. And he said, man, there's a guy named Nick Saban now that's in town. He's in the SEC, and this guy recruits unbelievable. He is relentless. And then we began to see all the bump rules and all that stuff to start being applied. And the coaches were used to having a period of time, and then they had a lot of time pretty much off in May. And no, Nick Saban was out recruiting and getting guys that they were recruiting in state. So they had to really up their game. He changed the recruiting landscape in so many ways. But what he realized, and probably what he told Brian Kelly, probably what made the decision, is that it's a gold mine of talent. You got the players to win championships, and you got the culture to win championships at LSU, because it is the SEC, the best conference in the land, and you're going to be able to get players into LSU that you can't get in academically as well into Notre Dame.
Guys, as you hang out with us here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel, make sure that you give us a thumbs up. That's a way of saying roll tide, like, subscribe, and share. Hit the bell so that you know when we're live here previewing Alabama. And we're only a couple of days from Alabama and Utah State at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Alabama at home this year to start the season, which is a rarity. But we appreciate you all being here with us tonight or today and hanging out and talking Crimson Tide football. All right, Nick Saban, another topic of Nick Saban and what he was asked over his teleconference about Drew Sanders, who transferred from Alabama to Arkansas, right? And he's a big guy. He was a starter. Dallas Turner came in when he got injured. He had a wrist injury. And basically, Nick Saban said that he'd be starting if he was at Alabama. Were you surprised at all by those comments?
I mean, a little surprised.
I think we lost Jay again. I'm not sure what the deal is with his microphone, but maybe he's going to have to bail out one more time. Yeah, we can't hear you. He's like, I can't. What am I doing here? What am I doing here? He's got backing up and coming back in. See, there's sometimes with technology, when you do this technology, it just craps out on you for whatever reason. Guys, hit us up in the comment section today as well. Let us know what you think. Ask Jay a question. Let's talk Alabama football as we get ready for the first game of the season against Utah. And let's get back into talking about Drew Sanders. I hear you, Jay. Pick up where you left off. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing with Drew, and you look, Jalen's sitting there probably saying, wait, what about me? I've stayed here for the last 6 years, and I'm starting at the linebacker position. But if Christian Harris would have come back, Christian would have been the guy there. Probably would have been maybe one of the greatest defenses of all time for Nick Saban, his 15 years in Alabama. But yeah, I mean, Drew Sanders is a great player. Coach Saban had nothing but positive things to talk about and say about with him. And you look at he took a look at Will Anderson. He saw after he got hurt, Dallas Turner came in and looked at the improvements that he had as a player, became to be really outstanding. Braswell there as well. They're talking about putting a package together with those three guys. So he's an outstanding player. Probably ended up going the best place that he needed to go, not only to get playing time, but also I think for him just felt like that was going to give him more opportunities being at Arkansas. And and I'll say this, and I'll say it carefully because we normally talk critical about anybody, whatever else. Not about him. I think this was off the field. Let me just put it that way. I think there was more pressure from him from family about his playing time. I think there were some things that were being said kind of behind the scenes. I think he got pressured that, hey, the best thing for you is to move on. Instead of just sticking to the process and knowing that if you stay at Alabama on that defense side of the ball, you got a great shot of making it to the NFL and also winning national championships. So I don't know if I put it all on him. I think he felt some pressure just based on what I know from somebody that was there with him and felt like that he needed to make a change and that he was being kind of swayed in that direction.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I really believe that your sources are probably right on. It's a lot of times when you're coaching players high school and college, the parents are the driving force behind what they think that the players should be doing. And it's like you said, it's unfortunate because Drew Sanders was getting a lot of playing time and he never lost his starting job. He was just hurt last year.
Mm-hmm.
But the other part of it too is that you can still get drafted and make a lot of money in the NFL if you're part of a rotation of guys coming in and you're staying fresh. And the other part of it too is that in football, if you're fresh, you're less likely to get injured, and so having a rotation of guys that come in and play spots like that, not only is your team going to be better, but they'll probably be healthier at the end of the year.
No doubt. And again, it's that you're going to buy into the process, buy into the fact that you're going to get your moments. When you get them, you got to shine. And again, it wasn't his fault. He got hurt. And he had played really good early in the year, made some really good tackles, that one down on the goal line that really saved the game for Alabama. So he was making a lot of strides, doing very well. He himself was doing all the right things on and off the field, the things that Coach Saban talks about, having that winning tradition, that winning attitude, and the winning way of practicing. And he was doing it. So, Drew Sanders, great kid. Players respected him, thought a lot of him. And I think, for him, it just felt like this is the best move for him right now, heading to Arkansas.
Guys, last year, right? And we'll see him later on this year. Alabama goes to Arkansas, and that's something that we can all get used to because guys are going to come, guys are going to go, they're going to transfer, and they're going to play for other teams in the conference. The days of blocking players from, going to your competition are over. And that's something that we're going to talk about a little bit later in the new transfer portal rules. But I want to go to this new rule on roughing the passer next, right? The NCAA issued a new rule on roughing the passer, and it's got Chris Daughtry, our producer, up in arms. But I got to ask you, Jay, first off, what do you know about it? It almost feels like if the quarterback's throwing the ball and he's hit, that there could be a penalty. And if so, I mean, how do you tackle the quarterback? And we lost Jay again. So let's take a look at that while we get Jay back on here. But Article 14, a defenseless player is one who, because of their physical position and focus of concentration, is especially vulnerable to injury. When in question, a player is defenseless. Examples of defenseless players include, but not limited to, and one of them is act of throwing the football or just past throwing the football. And Jay, pick it up right there. I mean, is this what I think this is?
It's almost two-hand touch. I mean, and this is nothing that – and I was watching the old CBS Monday night intro. And if you watch the CBS Monday night intro, this is back when – I think who was it? Was with but this is like in the 60s and 70s, or it's probably 70s or whatever. Every play on that intro would be a penalty today in the NFL.
Right.
Every play, helmets being pulled, guys, quarterbacks lifted up off the ground, slammed down. But again, this is about protection. So this is where it's just been heading from the NFL trickle down. A lot of the rules that they want to implement, and the NCAA is looking at this. But I don't know. To me, you got to be able to play the game. Defenses already have a tough enough time against offenses, especially in college. And now you're going to, even give this much more protection. I'm happy for it for the quarterbacks. I've been there, done that, gotten hit all over the place, every part of my body. Got those late hits as well that weren't called. But so maybe this will cut down on a little bit of that. Maybe it'll be a good thing for the game. We'll see. But I do not want it to get the two-hand touch. And I think there is something about when the ball is released. I know they say, maybe a step or whatever, but as a quarterback, that's part of it. I mean, you have to learn how to take on the pressure, learn how to take the hit. And if you're able to be intimidated by that, then that's where the defense is able to put that pressure on you and make you make mistakes.
Do you think that they're just trying to take away the contact of, hey, I just threw the ball and the guy comes in and slams the quarterback? Or do you think they're just trying to make it to where these guys don't get hurt being tackled and maybe prevent lawsuits in the future? I'm just trying to figure out where we're going with this.
I'd probably all the above, as you just said. Now you got NIL money, so you got money tied to each of these guys. So maybe the sponsors have come out and said, protect our guys. We're putting millions of dollars, the boosters, we're putting millions of dollars into these collectives. Let's keep these guys healthy, especially the quarterback. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not the game I played. It's not the game I grew up with. At times I watch and I see penalties that are called by a guy pulling a quarterback down by the legs. And they'll call roughing the passer in NFL. And I don't want college football to get to that at all. I think you got to protect at a certain level. But again, I mean, they used to remember the DVD they put out for years called NFL's Greatest Hits.
I loved it.
I loved it too.
Ronnie Lott was like killing everybody.
Yeah, and Ronnie had his issues, right? I mean, from the hit he lost a finger, right? I mean, like half of a finger. I think it was his index finger. So it was just it's the toughness of the game. That's what I loved about it. Love the fact that you went into it as, and I want to say war because that's not the appropriate way to say it, but it was a battle. It was something that you had to mentally, psychologically get up for, as well as be able to play the game from an X and O standpoint. You knew you were going to get beat up throughout the game. You knew people were going to try to take shots. You knew certain teams as well, your rivals, were going to try to take shots, and we're going to be the hardest hitting games of the year. So I hate to see that part of the game being taken out of it, but I get it. I understand. I mean, there's so many lawsuits, so many things out there from a legality standpoint and litigation that they just don't want to deal with.
Well, so how do you tackle a quarterback then?
You don't tackle ours, at least.
I'm really confused.
I know.
By this.
Gosh. Yeah, it's crazy. And again, and I guess, are they implementing this year, or is this something they're looking at next year? Because why would they wait this long if they're implementing it this year? Get guys all the way through spring practice, all the way through camp. If you're going to introduce something like this, that needs to be introduced right after the season. That way you can practice that way. That way here's the things that we can do. You have refs come in and talk to you about it. I mean, it seems like to me they're introducing this at the very last minute, right before week one starts. How can you govern that with these athletes that haven't had a chance to really take a look at it and understand how it will be called?
Yeah, and that's confusing to me as well. All of the other things that are going on in college football, and there's just to absolutely drop a bomb like this, 2 days before the first game. I mean, it's crazy, and the timing stinks, and I just don't understand it. I've sat here and tried to mentally go through my head and go, okay, what does this mean? And it kind of feels like if they are really strict on this, that it could totally change the game of football.
Yeah, it could. I mean, it definitely could. And I think, that's one thing that you worry about is you want to keep it as consistent as possible year after year, try to get rules in place. Again, it's all about protection. It's concussions. It's all the legal stuff I think that they're worried about with these particular players. And it could be, I hate to say that again, the NIL situation that, that's why the quarterbacks are protected in NFL now because of money. They're the highest paid guys. They're the franchise. They're the guys that if you lose them, your team is detrimental. I mean, it's something that really causes a lot of your offense to go away, and it just takes a lot of time to get the other guy developed. So maybe they're looking at that way to make sure that they protect these guys, keep them in there so the teams can be competitive at the end of the year.
He's Jay Barker. I'm Mick Gillispie. Thank you for joining us here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. Make sure that you're part of it. We're closing in on 100,000 subscribers. We want as many subscribers as there are people at Bryant-Denny Stadium when Alabama is playing football. That's our goal here, right? And we also want you to be part of Bama on 3, Bama Insider on 3. It is easy to do, and it's just about free. It's $1 for an entire year subscription, and that gets you everything Alabama, including recruiting with Andrew Bone and Joseph Hastings. You've got Clint Lamb and Jimmy Stein and Kyle Henderson updating you on everything going on with the Crimson Tide. Make sure that you at least experience it for $1. It's only $1. Big Buck just joined $1 for an entire year at BamaInsider.com.
Good job, Big Buck.
Jay, let's talk more about the NCAA and new rules. There's also a new rule on the transfer portal. And I guess the entire process is moving where guys can just transfer whenever they want. We're not quite there yet, but we did get some new rules.
Yeah, so the transfer windows now will go into effect in time for the 2022-23 season. It's going to allow 60 days per year for athletes to enter the portal and maintain immediate eligibility for first-time transfers. For fall sports like football, the period will be split into 2 periods. So the first, a 45-day period, which will start the day after the championship selections are made. So when the CFP gets the championship 4-team playoff, you have 45 days to then transfer. It will start the day after the championship selections are made. As I said, a second window will be instituted from May 1st through May 15th, so players can enter the transfer portal after spring camp.
I think we just lost Jay again. So, but yeah, he's talking about the transfer portal. He's going to have to pop off and pop back in. So what I'm getting is you get 2 times to transfer, 2 windows, which I think is a good idea. The first one is in May, and then the second one. All right, pick it up where you left it off.
Yeah, so I don't know where I left off or where you heard. I have no idea what's going on. So there it is. Or the May 1st through 15th, the first 45 beginning the day after the championship selections, the CFP, the Final Four, then they have 45 days. I like this. I like the windows that they have because now it's just not transferring out anytime you want to in the summertime. You get a chance to kind of gauge your roster and what needs to be done. So I like this, so where it's not carried over into the summertime workouts, all that type of stuff. And also that 45 days afterwards, make your decisions. I also love the fact of what they decided. There was a lot, they thought they were going to rubber stamp this, that they were going to put in where you could transfer any year. There wasn't just going to be the one-time transfer. You can transfer this year, next year, whenever, multiple schools. And that would have just been a disaster. Number one, the transfer portal would have been filled up to the brim. You would have had coaches and everybody else trying to figure out ways to get guys to get their friends, hey, come play for this thing. You may still see that with this one-time transfer rule that we put in place with no penalty. Used to, when I played, I think it was 2 years you had to sit out. And then one of those years could be a redshirt year if you had it left. If not, you may come back and only have a senior year to play. So that was a very it was a deter for these guys to want to do that. Now they're open the doors. I like they put windows in it in order to give a little bit more organization to it, a little more guardrails to it as well. But we'll see. But I love the fact that they didn't allow this transfer any year you want to. You could have had a guy play 4 or 5 years, they get to 4 or 5 different universities, which would have been absolutely nuts watching those guys move around. So now you still just get the one-time, no penalty transfer, and then after that you have, if you transfer again, you will have to sit out a year in order to play.
Yeah, and I'd heard that they were trying to get it to the point where that it was being pushed to the point where you could just transfer as many times and anytime you wanted, right? But I like this a lot better too. I think this is what they definitely needed because, if you're with a program, you need to either be there or not be there. At least have kind of some guardrails on when you're going to be there or when you might be leaving. So I'm with you on this one. I think this is a good rule by the NCAA. All right, let's talk about new NIL deals for Alabama, and that includes one for Visit Tuscaloosa.
Good stuff. I mean, all this stuff is so good. I mean, to me, Mick, anytime you can get, where I saw today, Ohio State's C.J. Stroud has given $500 gift cards to all the players on the team. And they're going to be dressing out so they can go out and buy new suits. Now, probably what happened is that a suit company came to him and said, hey, we'd like to do an NIL deal. He said, all right, then why don't you provide me $500 gift cards? The suits probably cost anywhere from $750 to $1,000.
We lost Jay again. $750 to $1,000 for a suit. I know if they need a suit in Tuscaloosa, just where they could go get one. But Jay was saying yesterday that if you had an NIL deal as a quarterback that you ought to reward your offensive linemen for taking care of you. And, and kind of looking at it as a way to motivate them too, because offensive linemen are so important and they're such a big part of it. That, hey, you were talking about the suits.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't everything is set up right. I'm not sure what's happening with the going in and out today, but we appreciate everybody's patience on that. Yeah. I mean, the suits. So to me, it's the suit company probably came to him and said, look, we'll give you $500 gift cards, or he got that. And they're probably going to sell them for $750 or $1,000. And they're going to make their money back, plus get the promotion, get the publicity from it as well. So it's not like I think that he's coming out of pocket this much money. You're talking about $40,000 or $50,000 if you're giving $45,000 for 90 guys at $500. So those type of things I want to see happen, where you're able to get the entire team involved. I think that's awesome, where everybody can benefit from it. And those other top tier guys are still going to get theirs. They're still going to make their millions of dollars. So good stuff.
Yeah, let's listen to this. Can you play it? It's only like 30 seconds. Okay. I just heard it on there a second ago.
What's up, Tide fans? Welcome to Tuscaloosa, Alabama's ultimate sports destination, also known as the best place in the country. I'm Terrion Arnold, here with my teammate Ja'Cory Brooks, also known as C7.
What's good, man? Whether you're here for game day, weekend, or just in town for fun, it's a lot to do. It's a lot going on.
You can go to the lakes, you can hike, or enjoy the nightlife concerts.
Yeah, what he said. While you're here, be sure to check out my favorite spots, Ramajama, the Riverwalk, and Catch a Taste.
Don't forget about our barbecue. Dreamland, Archibald's, Thomas Rib Shack. Some ribs sound good right now, no cap. Don't forget to mention us in the comments to tell us what y'all love about Tuscaloosa. Matter of fact, while we at it, we might as well get some food. Come on.
I'm hungry. They've got me hungry.
Me too.
They hit up Dreamland, Ramajama. I mean, Thomas Rib Shack. I liked it. Like, I thought this was pretty funny, and it's a good look for Tuscaloosa. It's definitely got them some attention.
Terrion did a great job. Terrion Arnold, man, he's doing those commercials well. He's like, yeah, I just do what he said.
Yeah,
I love that. But Terrion now, gets to start at corner. A guy that was an unbelievable safety out of high school. He was ranked 3 in Florida, top 10 in the country safeties. Moves to cornerback. Then you got Ja'Cory Brooks, and man, that guy last year really stepped up to the plate. But that was awesome. Visit Tuscaloosa, barbecue, all that stuff, all the good music at the amphitheater, all that, and then whatever he said, I will do that.
I'm just going to start doing that on the show every week.
Yeah,
just
exactly. Whatever he said.
I'll just do what you said.
Yeah,
and they've made me hungry too. I mean, so it's like sitting here and I'm thinking ribs and barbecue. I mean, obviously staples of what we do in Tuscaloosa. But that's definitely one of the, pretty funny and easy to watch, and didn't take them a lot of time to do that NIL deal.
Not at all. And that's the kind of stuff that's good for not only the athletes, but also for the city of Tuscaloosa, for the university. Nothing on that was about Alabama, but they're Alabama players doing a commercial talking about coming and visiting, whether it's be game day or any time. It's a great town. I mean, people that have lived there or been there for a period of time, there's a lot of stuff to do, more stuff to do now than we were there, especially when I was there, than there is today. So a great thing about them. And again, just impressed by Arnold Terrion. I mean, being able to do that commercial like that. He's a redshirt freshman, second year at Alabama, get the start. Man, things are up and coming for Terrion Arnold. So excited for him. Hey, one thing I wanted to bring up, Mick, is it's hard to believe that it's been since 2011 that we've had a home game in Tuscaloosa to start the season. And that was against Kent State, the alma mater of Nick Saban. Since that time, though, the last 15 years, it's only been, 11 years. But for 15 years straight now, Alabama's won every season opener. That in itself is just an amazing stat and a great way to really start out as far as the season. But think back to 2011, and I thought really great article. Chris Walsh, good friend of mine, he's on our show a lot, but he talked about the kind of the things that were happening during that time. Junior college transfer Deron Carter was cleared academically. Wide receiver was finally on the Crimson Tide roster. Of course, he never played a game for Alabama after being cleared. Nick Saban had to yet announce a starter between sophomore A.J. McCarron, redshirt freshman, Philip Sims, saying it's out of fairness to them that both guys get an opportunity in this game. As we know, AJ went on and ended up being a 3-year starter, almost a three-peat national title winner. Barrett Jones moved to left tackle, would play in 3 different spots during the opener. He went on to win the Outland Trophy at left tackle. A year later, he moved to center and won the Remington Award, which is unbelievable. It was Alabama's first game after the April 27 tornadoes, which we saw, and Lars, my radio partner, wrote a great book called Storming the Tide, and really outlining how important that point in time for Tuscaloosa, but mostly for Nick Saban and Terry. Their roots went really deep after that because of the outpouring of affection from them to the community and raising funds and doing all the stuff they possibly could do. So good stuff there. But you look at that game, they won it 48-7. And the number, I mean, just to me, again, 15-0 during that period of time and all that they accomplished. But after going to 15-0 in those first few games, the average score 40.67, almost 41 points to 11.7. That's been the difference, the margin. Yards differential has been 44.3.9 to 218.2, and just one opponent managing to be within 2 touchdowns. That was West Virginia back in 2014, and in 2014, Alabama won that 33-23. So back in Tuscaloosa for the first time since 2011 for opening weekend.
That's crazy. I mean, in some of these games, like it's not like they've played cupcakes either. Like it's been like Michigan,
Clemson,
and Wisconsin, and
Clemson, Virginia Tech, Michigan. You talked about Virginia Tech again in 2013. West Virginia, Wisconsin, Southern Cal, Florida State, Louisville, Duke, Missouri, and then Miami.
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah.
But it's a change also, too, because these games are going back on campus now, right? And I guess we're going to see a lot less of Alabama playing in these kickoff games and more, heading to places like Texas, which is where they're playing next week.
Well, and I think to me, the kind of neutral site games were great for that period of time, whatever. But for fans, I mean, I want to travel to Austin. I want to travel to Oklahoma. I want to go to these different cities and different college campuses. And I think the players do too. There's something about being able to go in and play in those stadiums more than just going back to the place that you played that preseason game. Now you're going back to play it again for the SEC title game. We're going back and playing it again for the national championship. So, I mean, there's some pluses and minuses of both, but also the economic impact for those universities and those cities to get the home and home. And that's what you have with Texas this year. Texas will play them out there this year. They'll come back and play us in Tuscaloosa. And you're going to see all those type of matchups happening over the next few years. And look forward to that. What you got? Lineup includes Texas this year and next, Wisconsin 24-25, Florida State 25-26, West Virginia 26-27, Notre Dame 28-29, Georgia Tech 20-30-31, Virginia Tech 34-35, Arizona is 20-32 and 33. It also signed Oklahoma, but it and Texas are getting ready to join the SEC. So some great matchups there that's in the future.
Yeah, that's crazy how far off that schedule is.
We'll be driving electric cars to get there.
We might be flying.
Or electric buses. Yeah.
Our space saucers, I mean, who knows, right?
They might not have it. We'll be driving our electric cars there, but we won't have enough electricity to light the lights.
Who would have thought, like, when Nick Saban started, we didn't have iPhones,
I know. That's crazy.
All right, Jay, anything that I missed that you want to get into before we bid everyone farewell today?
No, well, the other thing is tomorrow will be a big vote by the CFP about the 12-team playoff and whether or not they're going to go to the 12-team playoff. They're talking about going to that. It's going to go from $600 million a year for the CFP to $1.2 billion for the CFP. After that vote tomorrow, if it's unanimous, it's got to be unanimous between the 11 people on that board. They've been really frustrated with the governing body not making decisions. They're like, look, this is a good deal for us. We got a lot of things happening with different conferences, like we talked about with Texas and Oklahoma. Let's get it done. So tomorrow, if they can get 11 unanimous, they're saying this thing will be implemented to a 12-team playoff by 2024. If it doesn't, then they're going to have to push it back to around 2026. You're talking about a 2-year period. That's a lot of money to lose between that the 12. I mean, as far as the numbers that you might get, that I talked about, $600,000 to $1.2 billion in those particular years. So it's going to be interesting to watch. So 2024 or 2026, 11, they need to get unanimous vote on that. Then they're thinking about going to a 16-team playoff down the road. So they're kind of building off of that and seeing where it'll go.
Oh man, I'm not a big fan of this, Jay. I mean, like I hate that the bowls have turned into dust. I mean, I remember going to all these bowls and having such a great experience. And, now if you're not in the big bowls, like if you're not in the playoffs, the players leave and then they're turning it into the NFL. What I love about college football is that every game is a playoff game. The playoff starts when Alabama plays Utah State, right? Because if you lose, you're in big trouble. Maybe if you lose twice, you have a chance, but 16 teams driven by money and television. I don't know. I hate to see how this is going to turn out. Last year, 4 teams was too many. There were 2 good teams. Everybody else was second. We knew it was Alabama and Georgia. And that's exactly what it was, right?
Yeah.
How many years is there really 4 teams that even could compete in this? Maybe 3, right? Now we got 16.
Yeah, I mean that's the way it feels, right? I mean, when you look at it from that standpoint, it feels that way. The only thing I would say, I think what they're looking at is the number one, the TV money they can get and generate from that, like they do with the NCAA tournament in basketball. You're talking now billions of dollars going back to the universities and going back into college football like basketball has. The other thing is the 12 teams, you're going to have more fan base excited about that. If you get to 16, you're going to have more. So I think I get that. And, they're going to start hanging banners, right? Playoff banners. Made the tournament, just like they do tournament teams in basketball. So now they'll have something to hang up and talk about. The fans will have something to talk about in the offseason. They'll be proud that we made the playoffs. I think that's what they're trying to get, and is to make it more inclusive, which sometimes can be good and sometimes can be really bad because you just get bad teams. The other thing that might happen, though, is that you may have some injuries early in the year. Then your team is actually, lost 2 games early, but your quarterback comes back or your running back, your receiver, and then all of a sudden you're better at that point in time, and you've got the depth in order to make a championship run. If you didn't have the chance to lose 2 early games and still get in the playoffs with 12 or 16, then you wouldn't have that team making it at that particular time. So I think that's the things you're looking at. Now, here's the other problem. You got 12 regular season games, 13 counting your conference championship. Now that's 4 more games. You're talking 17 games. An NFL regular season for these college athletes. So is that the direction they want to go? Now, it's not for everybody. It's just going to be for the teams that make the playoff and continue on playing. So that's the argument that they'll make. Still, it's a lot of games. Will they back off the regular season games, go back to 11 regular season games instead of 12, still the championship game moving forward, or will there be a little bit different system or look to all this? It's kind of exciting to look at and watch, but I agree with you. I like the BCS, to be honest. And then the playoffs has worked out well for Alabama. And I honestly think that with the transfer rules and NIL, 12, 16, 24, 64 teams, the Blue Bloods are going to win out. Yep.
I like it the way that it is now. Mm-hmm. I liked it the best when it was the BCS. And, if it's not broken, why fix it? It is not broken. It's been great. The college football has never been better and more exciting than it is now. All they're going to do is just basically ruin the regular season, which is the best regular season in sports because it's a playoff.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, if you're looking at teams with 2, 3, 4 wins, that's a different game than what we have. You guys had to be perfect to win the national championship. Had you stumbled one time in 1992,
done.
It wouldn't have been you. And that's
94.
Yeah.
Right. Well, 94, we would have made the 14 playoff. We ended up number 2 in the country. It was one of those things where actually I think we're 3 in the country that year. But we were undefeated. Penn State was undefeated. Nebraska was undefeated. Nebraska ended up undefeated. They were number 1. Penn State didn't even get a share. They were number 2. They were undefeated. We were 12-1, and we lost 1 game to Florida in the SEC title game by 1 point. Now, if we win that game, because we would have played more games than anybody in the country and gone undefeated, we would have played Ohio State in the Citrus Bowl, or maybe not, because we played them. I forget because Florida won that, so they went, so we'd have played somebody else. But at that time, if we win that game and we go undefeated through the bowl game, I think we're national champions. I mean, we'd had one more game, or at least we had a tie with Nebraska. But at that time, it was, so that would have been awesome to have had a 14 playoff then. So we could have played for it and then still had a chance to play for a national championship. So I get that. So they're just trying to create more and more odds. And I mean, think about the betting on this stuff. I mean, there's just so much. Whenever these things happen, you go, better for the game. It's about this. Yeah. It's about the money, big time.
I agree. And look, that's why I like I was cool with the 14 playoff. There was a year Auburn went undefeated and they didn't get a chance to play. There's not going to be 5 undefeated teams from major conferences, right? I mean, it just every so often it falls into a category like in 94. Would have been great to see you guys up against Nebraska. I don't know what Lars would have done, but it would have been great. Would have been great to see it, right? And but going to 12, 8, 12, 16, whatever NCAA tournament where they can't even get it right at 64. Now that's at 68. They want let everybody in. I just can't stand that mentality.
It's like everybody gets a trophy mentality,
right? And I can't. Yeah. I just can't stand that. You know what?
Me either.
I like the fact that the regular season is worth watching. The NFL regular season, if you don't have a fantasy football team or you don't bet, you don't even care. People don't even watch the NBA season until the playoffs, right? And their ratings are down overall. College football ratings are going up because you have to watch that Alabama LSU game in November because whoever loses might be out, right?
It creates. And also, if you don't play well, then the CFP may not pick you to be a part of the Final Four.
Right.
So not only do you have to stay undefeated, but you got to in the games that you're supposed to win. You got to win. You got to kind of get style points, as Coach Saban has talked about. That he hates that. But you got to keep scoring points. You got to get the style points in order for that committee to see you as one of the top 4 teams in the country.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Jay, any final thoughts?
Brother. Roll Tide, and hopefully big win over Utah State this weekend. Hopefully we'll see some younger players or guys get some experience late in the game. I know Coach Saban hates for anybody to talk like that, and I wouldn't do it either if I was playing because you got to just stay focused in the process of what you're doing at the time and the team that you're playing. But hopefully it'll be a great game for the Crimson Tide. But I know that these players are at a point in time right now after practicing throughout the summer. You're tired of hitting each other. You want to go out. You want to play the game, be a part of that. I'm looking forward to it. Jermaine Burton, what's he going to be like? How is he going to be in this offense? Kobe Prentice, how is he going to play as a true freshman? Look at Trayshawn Holden, who's really been kind of the go-to guy for Bryce during the fall camp. But Coach has talked about Jermaine kind of being the guy that's ahead, knowing everything. And then some other, like even Jameer. I mean, what's he going to be like at the running back position? Can he really be as explosive, not just running the ball, but out of the backfield? And then the defense. I think this could be one of Saban's really great defenses he's had at Alabama. And it should be a fun year. But I know these guys are ready to get out there and play somebody different.
Well, Jay, before we go, you got to give us your score prediction.
Oh, man, I would say 52-10.
52-10. Jay says Alabama rolls Utah 6:30 in Tuscaloosa on Saturday night. That sounds like a really good pick. All right, guys, look, we appreciate you being here. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Hit the thumbs up. Tell your friends about it. We'll be back on Tuesday at 2:00 with Crimson Tide headlines. Also, you get a full year of Bama Insider on 3 for only $1. That's 12 months for $1. It's a limited time offer. It's basically welcoming all of you guys that came with us 2 on 3 from Bama Insider to the new Bama Insider. And we can't thank you enough for being part of everything that we do. Talking about thank yous, Chris Daughtry behind the scenes, Kyle Henderson, our entire crew. For Jay Barker, I'm Mick Gillispie. Have a great weekend, everybody. Don't forget tomorrow at 6:00, the Tailgate Show from Innisfree in Tuscaloosa will get you ready for that football game. Roll Tide.